You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
87 points a game, to which that's more than you, to which you go, whoa. However, when you pare that down into the 5 conference games, they're only averaging 66 a game. That is a drastic difference.
Yeah.
So as the competition has stiffened up, now granted, they've seen Houston, they've seen Iowa State. These are thought to be 2 of the top defensive teams in the country. So that has something to do with it. Oklahoma State, not so much. Maybe TCU, not so much. Kansas can be hit or miss. But that's where you can, if you will show up and guard like you have been, you're going to absolutely have a chance. If you don't, and if you don't have enough juice in the tank and enough energy to expend and all the things, you could be in trouble. So that's where this thing could be at, and you're going to have to get some minutes from some of these guys like Leon Horner and Nolan Groves.
I'm inclined to ask game to game in the usual situation. All right, well, what kind of buttons or levers do you push or pull going into this matchup? But I'm sitting here thinking, do you have a button? Do you have a lever? Is there anything different than you can do? Because I'm also recalling the tremendous scene, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, basketball locker room. You get the ball, what do you do? Pass it to Will. You get the ball, what do you do? Pass it to Will. Hey, you get the ball, what do you do? Pass it to JT. You get the ball, what do you do? Pass it to Christian. Correct answers. Very limited. So, I mean, what changes from game to game? I know the opponent does, but how much could it change for Tech, I guess?
Yeah, they will. I'll be curious to see how they choose to defend. I mean, I think that they have mixed in some zone. I think I don't know how much that they'll utilize that.
I hope they utilize it a ton, Chris.
Well, and Colorado did, and it worked for a bit, and then once you kind of figured it out, it was like, oh no, this isn't going to work, and that's what then they got into man-to-man, and that's what allowed them to get back into the game, talking about the Colorado-Buffalo game there. Good question.
I hope they're saying by halftime, Baylor fans are saying they won't be making that all night. Something like that.
Yeah, like they were in Boulder that day. Like, oh, man, what's going on? Yeah, when Christian Anderson, buried a 30-footer going in the locker room. As far as buttons to push, I'd be willing to bet you that Tyree Bryan will get another crack at this. Nolan Groves and Leon Horner, as far as rotation, but again, the leash is short, but maybe unlike the other night, I'll be interested to see how this thing's officiated too, because at some point, leaning on 5 guys, that's why you had to lean on some of your other pieces the other night, because Jalen Petty was dealing with foul trouble. So. That's just going to be part of it, where you're going to get dinged for a few things, and you got to play through that. That's why having some extra parts on occasion that step up and rise to the occasion would certainly help. This will be Baylor can kind of be disjointed. This is an entirely new team. This is like one of these weird examples, and again, largely because of the Rob Wright scenario. But there was not one of these guys that played here last year. So they are very much trying to figure out who does what your role is. I mean, Dan Skillings is a guy that you played against when he played for Cincinnati last year.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Obi Agbem is their kind of floor general to a certain extent. You played against him at Wyoming last year. I think he's a guy that Jeff Linder coached a couple of years ago. They've got guys with numbers. They've got talent. Where you can get them, though, is in the stressful moments. Certain guys want to take over, or certain, they just, again, appear to be disjointed. Whereas you, on the other hand, you know exactly what you're trying to get done. And you've commented on that, how it's gotten better and it's grown, and you know where people are going to be and whose role is what. I think you've largely established that. So, but can you, are you in a position to put them in stressful situations? Because this is an athletic team now, and I'm guessing desperate and motivated and all the things, because they could, largely get back on track with a win over you. So it's your job to stop that.
Yeah, I was listening to a head coach just recently. I can't remember who it was, talking about with so many new additions most have on their rosters every year, and how easy it is for those players to revert to, I'll do it, as opposed to trying to like play into the team thing. And it's a work in progress for a lot of people. And if you're ahead of the curve, then you're probably going to have an advantage game to game. But that's, I think, some of what you're describing right there.
These are every one of these guys was the, hey, I'll just do it guy on their AAU team or their high school team. And they probably were far and away better than anybody they were with. And so when they did it, it was like, yeah, well, I'll just keep letting you do it. Pass it to Will.
Exactly. You did a great job last time. We'll let you try it again.
Yes. And it's the coach's jobs to identify and like kind of rein it in and go, no, this is what we think is best, and we think you're best here. And not everybody, not everybody's wanting to do that. Not everybody wants to go rebound and guard and share it and all that. So I think you have an advantage in that standpoint, because that's the biggest thing about player retention, is that you've got guys that are now used to it, and these other pieces are starting to acclimate a little bit, and you've got willing passers. I mean, what JT and Christian combined for what was like 16 assists last week versus Utah. So they're very willing, and they're the two dudes, right? So when you have that, it opens it up for everybody else.
It's sort of strange that I barely even flinched still at a comment about not one of these guys played for this team last year. So, that's part of their tail at the tape. It's just it's amazing how quickly you become accustomed to that kind of thing, or hearing that kind of thing, maybe as a fan. All right, we'll see what happens, and enjoy all of that scholarly energy behind you, Chris. Stay safe down in Waco. Before we get out of here, let's switch gears, because I do want to spend some time talking about one of our favorite, of course, pastimes of the off season. We're not quite to list season, I don't think. I'm still looking at portal class lists, but we've got other lists appearing. Team lists, Chris, as it relates to an on-3 way too early top 25 for college football in 2026. Where are the Red Raiders landing? I'll throw it on the screen for those watching on YouTube. If you are listening via podcast, I'll run it down for you really quickly.